Either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's the team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's program. This is another live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. I am your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. Tonight I am joined by a good friend of mine who is a fellow radio show host here on the Orion Talk Radio Network, Mr. Joe Joseph.
Hello. Yo.
And tonight we have some serious stuff to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. I am just kind of flabbergasted. I already knew a lot of this, but I'm just kind of maybe flabbergasted isn't the word. Really flustered by this because the speed that this is on the move and what we're going to be talking about tonight is incredible. And what Joe and I are talking about is Agenda 21. Now, many of you have heard about it. You've heard us talk about it. But perhaps you're not really sure what it is. You've heard, a rumor here or there or something. So we're going to kind of fill you in, and we're going to fill you in on some of these NGOs, these non-governmental organizations that are out there helping push this agenda. And it's interesting how they all kind of have the same goal, even though they appear to be from different, different people, different, from, we'll say they're from over, one person's from A and this group is from B, and they appear to be from two different locales, yet they have the same talking points, the same everything. And some of their views are really, really, really out of whack. Joe and I did a podcast actually about this recently. And Joe, you've seen it yourself. What do you think? The craziness, the insanity that these people have planned, for this country, what they want to do, take away people's land, just create massive, clustered areas where people are going to be clustered together and living. What do you think about this?
What do you say, man? What kills me is that they're doing it so blatantly, and yet there are so few doing anything about this. I mean, this is ridiculous. And all this really is, it's like you said, it's Agenda 21 regurgitated and repackaged into this nice new, I don't know, it's like trading in a vehicle and getting a new vehicle. You know, now they've got the new vehicle and they want to get out there and just let everybody see it. It seems like they're not holding anything back, and that is what is really troubling to me. So, I mean, we can start to get into it. I don't know how you want to approach it, but, I mean, there's an incredible amount of information on what these people are about and what they're trying to do. And really what it boils down to is a loss of all of your property rights. I mean, when it comes down to it, if you live out in a rural area, especially a rural area, you're at risk of being they want to take your land, your resources, and they want to put you in one of these mega cities and the mega regions, I should call. And these mega regions, they already have 10 of them established in the United States. You know, they want to restrict your personal travel.
And these aren't the FEMA regions we're talking about, in case somebody tries to get confused and they say, well, I've heard the FEMA region. No. They want to create a mega region where they have all the population pushed into this mega region where there are no longer, like, cities don't really have the boundaries they had anymore. It's like one huge, massive commune, cluster F in this compact, prison-like type city. Which they're actually doing in New York now, Joe. The UN,
right, but they're pushing this. This is all why the TSA was put into place, was to get people to get used to the fact that you're going to be harassed every time you want to travel. You're going to need to show your papers before you can travel. You're going to get searched. Get used to being searched because, you don't want any contraband going anywhere or anything like that. I mean, it's going to be, according to these people's visions, and we'll go over that tonight, this is what they want. This is it, high-speed rail transit, and that's it. Unless you're rich. It's really a sad
They actually say that. They say that in some of these proposed videos, you see them talking about that only the rich people can drive cars and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And people should be outraged by this. And according to one of the videos on YouTube, there's at the very least, at least it's got 10 times more dislikes than it does likes. But I mean, come on. They are literally trying to take everything away from us and at breakneck speed. I mean, 2050 is what they say their goal is. But if you look around, in the last 12 years or so, 2001 to 2012, it's going on 12 years now that we're going to be, we've seen a massive acceleration, in the police state and just total control. They have taken control of virtually everything. And to all the active duty military out there who think you're defending freedom, you should really think about what freedom is. Because there is no this isn't a free country. People these days don't know what freedom is, what freedom's all about. And it's going to be a wake-up call for a lot of people when this stuff really starts to get implemented and they start ratcheting down, because at that point it's going to be too late. And I just don't want it to. I just don't want it to come to that point. I'd rather stop it now in its tracks, and you can do it.
Dude, this is really scary what they're talking about. This is really, really frightening.
I know, but it really, dude.
This is really a sobering thing. The destruction of land rights, sovereignty, everything.
Yeah. Well, think about this, too. The fight does not start doing YouTube videos are great and nice, and even Popeye and I doing the radio shows, it's great, it's nice, but we all have to get involved and engaged in our communities, especially the localities, your city councils, your town councils. You have to go and speak out about this at these meetings, because I'm telling you, folks, they are there. They are there, and you cannot let this happen. Have to
that's
stop
how we're going to stop it. We have to stop Agenda 21 from being implemented at a local level, because bitching to the federal government's not going to do anything. They're the ones that sold you out. So you need at a state level and a local level to nullify these things, just like they're doing with the NDAA. How there's states going, no, you're not going to send the military into my state to black bag my citizens. No,
and that happened today. You know, and after the break, I think that would be something good to get into before we get into Agenda 21, because it's pretty
good point, because we got so much to talk about with Agenda 21. Let's cover that really quick when we come back on the other side of this break. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Joe and I will be right back. Yes, the states are moving to nullify the NDAA. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so getting into this really quick before we get into Agenda 21, because there's a lot to cover.
Yes.
Joe, really quick, in like 2 minutes, sum up what's going on. What is it, with Virginia?
Yeah, the Virginia House of Delegates passed by a vote of 96-4 to nullify the NDAA. And basically, that's good. Now it has to go on to the Senate. So the Virginia Senate has to take it up. 96-4 is a pretty good margin. However, Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell is on record as opposing the legislation, which means that he could veto it. Now, if you get a majority like this in the Senate, then you might see him not veto it, just because the way they're passing, it's veto-proof. But the Virginia Senate is a bird of a different feather, because it's much more of a mix, a balanced mix of Democrats and Republicans, whereas the House is very heavily, it's like 2/3 Republican. So, it's something to be seen, but I mean, this is great. It's a bill to prevent any agency, political subdivision, employee, or member of the military of Virginia from assisting an agency of the armed forces of the United States in the conduct of the investigation, prosecution, or detention of a citizen in violation of the U.S. Constitution, the Constitution of Virginia, or any Virginia law or regulation. This is good that they're taking this up, and I hope more states follow suit, because it's almost the same in a sense of what a lot of states are doing with the health care debacle, fighting the health care bill, and hopefully we see something of a change in that once the Supreme Court rules on that.
You want to hear something funny about the health care bill? One of my doctors is a flaming liberal, okay? Flaming liberal. And you know what? In the conversation I had with this doctor yesterday, they are so fed up with the Obama administration and Obamacare, it's unreal. And they used to be an avid Obama supporter. So even some of the brain-dead drones are starting to wake up to the reality of Obamacare, because they realize what it's going to become.
But I hope people understand just how detrimental things are right now. I mean, how bad things really are right now. Last week on my broadcast, I had Bev Harris on from blackboxvoting.org. And, of course, she was the focus of the documentary Hacking Democracy. And the fact is that we don't have legitimate elections in this country anymore. And more
Dude, do you know what I found, speaking of ripping off elections? I mean, talk about everything dovetailing together. Do you know what I found? Thanks to the YouTube user Conspiracy Scope. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, for the newest May Brussels stuff, until we get at the very least, until we get it up and going here on the network, which Jimmy's working on in a few weeks, we're going to have May Brussels on air again. But if you guys want to see the videos on YouTube, remember, I can't upload them to Federal JackTube 6 anymore, but go check out Conspiracy Scope. He uploads one or two of them a day. Great channel. Check it out. Full May Brussels video archives if you want to rip them and keep them for yourself. But you know what I found today?
What's that?
An episode of her from the 80s talking about this very subject, talking about how back in the 80s she was saying this, that voting machines are that's it. It's computers. Right? It's no more, put your thumbprint or, mark it with a marker, nothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, dude. I can look back, and the first one that was legitimately thrown, I mean, like you could see, was JFK. JFK lost the popular vote, and you saw, if you go back and look, you'll see a lot of shenanigans akin to the 2000 election where Bush lost the popular vote, However, it was only in strategic places that things had to be manipulated in order for him to achieve victory, a.k.a., like Ohio or Florida. I think it was Florida in 2000. It was Ohio in 2004. And, what people need to understand is that a coup has already taken place in this country. It has. The people don't elect the people they want into public office. No, you get a poo sandwich or a poo sandwich. And then
exactly, it's like Bill Hicks said, and Judith Baker actually said this in interviews I've done with her before, where there's got to be some little film booth somewhere in the White House, this little room where they bring the president to the new president. The door closes, and it's a bunch of smoky guys, a guy sitting in a smoke-filled room, I should say, smoking cigars, and I think Hicks put it best. He said it's the 12 guys that, the 12 big money powers that got him in. And you wonder why Hicks suddenly developed cancer and died, huh? Anyway, they say him and Judith both made the same comment. It's funny. They bring the president and they put him in this little smoke-filled room, and they sit there and they look at the guy in the projector booth, and he nods, and up on the screen comes this never-before-seen angle of the Kennedy assassination. Kind of looks like it was shot from the grassy knoll area, and you see Kennedy's head go back into the left, and then the lights go. The movie goes down, and the lights come up, and they just say, "Any questions?" And he says, like Bill Hicks said, "No, just what's my agenda?" And he's like, "First, we're gonna bomb Baghdad. Oh, no problem. We'll send the troops." That's how it goes. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm. No, I know, man. So I mean. That's the first thing to understand, is that your vote really doesn't matter at all, because they've already decided who's going to be the president of the United States. So look at the situation we're in now, because as if it wasn't bad enough in 2008 when you had McCain or Obama, now you're going to have Obama. If he gets elected to a second term, why, he's a lame duck president. And this SOB in 4 years, if you think it's bad now, can turn this country totally on its head. And same with Romney. However, I will say this.
Obamney. That's what Romney's name is.
I know, but I don't know if this is strategic, but there is a lot of talk, and I think the Washington Post did an article today about it, about the relationship between Ron Paul and Mitt Romney. Believe it or not, they're actually very cordial with one another. And I think the Post did a great story on it today, where if I was to guess right, I would say that Uncle Ronnie here is trying to play a little psychology game on old Mitt Boy, trying to rub off on him a little bit. So I don't know. But
first of all, I wouldn't trust that. Okay,
I wouldn't either.
Romney's a Mormon. People are going to say, "Oh, here we go." Romney's a Mormon, and if you know anything about the Mormon religion. Okay,
come on.
Nowhere that it was founded by a 33rd degree Freemason. But besides that fact, the highest number of CIA agents, like out of all the religions, the highest number, or I should say, in the CIA, in the people that are agents in the CIA, especially field agents, not just analysts, but actual field agents on the ground boots.
But
their highest, the highest amount of them, the largest amount is Mormons. So out of every religion, you have it. Now, what is the Mormon religion if you look at it? Well, I know people that are Mormons, and they've even told me that, I know people that I should say have gotten out of the Mormon religion. And they've told me that it's very, very cult-like. It's, it's not too far off, and some people are going to get angry at this, but I've heard that's not too far off with the cult-like behavior from Scientology. So, and when you research it, you understand that the Mormon religion itself has these heavy connections to the CIA and the intelligence community, and you understand that the intelligence community, like the CIA, is not a government agency. It's a private corporation that's contracted out to the government. Well, then you have to wonder, who the hell's Mitt Romney? That's
man, the Mormon religion was founded like way before the CIA, man. You crazy?
I know.
Don't make me I'll tell you, my tinfoil hat. I'm going to have to go.
I don't think you understand where I'm going, Joe.
No, I understand.
Mormon religion, the Mormon religion itself was founded by a 33rd degree Freemason. The Mormon religion itself is a secret society.
So what that means...
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And before we get into anything, I want to give out a shout-out that I promised I would give out, and I am a man of my word. If you go on Twitter, check out The Apple Insider. Just type in Apple Insider or, at The Apple Insider, all one word on Twitter. And it's a friend of mine, and they're putting up a blog and putting a thing together. They kind of debunk the crappy rumors out there about Apple stuff, and they know a lot about tech and everything else when it comes to Apple stuff. So any questions you may have, anything, if you have an Apple, because I know a lot of people that I know people that have Apples. I have one myself, but like when I first went over to it, I didn't know who to ask any questions to, because using an Apple is kind of like, going from PC to Apple is like going from here to Mars. It's a totally different experience. So if you guys have any questions or anything, go check his Twitter account out. I told him I'd give him a shout out. So there you go. All right, getting back into it, Joe. I don't want to get too sidetracked into.
Oh, come on.
There's so much to go with Agenda 21, but the 2012 election is an important thing to cover. And
sure.
What I'm going to be doing is Steve Stars. You know Steve. He's a guest on my show regularly.
Absolutely.
Steve is a Ron Paul, what do you call it, constituent or whatever the hell, not constituent, what do you call it, delegate. Wrong word. We're the constituents. He's a Ron Paul delegate, so he's going to be coming on next week, Wednesday. And what I'm going to do is at least once or twice a month, I'm going to have him on, and he's going to be giving updates, a lot from what he can find out from, as a delegate, and what he can find out from what's going on, on the inside. Maybe he might have it, if something happens, like with Maine, perfect example. And by next Wednesday, they'll have had their little caucus tomorrow. And we'll find out who really did win Maine, because that whole, Mitt Romney win, that's going to go on. I have a feeling that's going to get turned on its head, considering the guy that, I don't know if he was the president of the GOP over there or what his exact position was, but he was higher up, and he's the one that said that doesn't matter if they vote tomorrow. That they're not going to.
It's not going to make a difference.
Yeah, and then one of the election chairman or whoever over there said to him, "You better accept it, or we're going to have a problem." So you can see they're trying to make it that no, Ron Paul didn't win. They're trying to.
Dude, they're massively trying to. You know why? Because they know that Ron Paul has the majority of support in America. They know this, and that's it. The only thing that's holding all this back is the fact that the mainstream media is on board and that the vote's being totally fucking manipulated.
Dude, totally manipulated. Totally manipulated. 110% it's being manipulated without a doubt. I'll believe it when we do paper ballots like the Iraqis with the purple thumb. That's when I'll believe it. Until then, I don't believe it, especially since the one guy that did the source code testified to Congress. Remember that little meeting he was at, whatever group it was, he testified, whatever little committee they were called. He testified and said they put the source code inside Diebold machines. It was hidden. The program was hidden inside the source code for the machine, so that the only way you'd be able to see this program that would switch the votes and everything was if you had access to the source code. And what's the one thing Diebold wouldn't give Congress access to? The source code. Gee, I wonder why.
Hey, man, all I can say is that this stuff absolutely enrages me, and I just can't, for the life of me, understand why this is one of the reasons why. If you want to know why they get away with implementing Agenda 21 and everything like that, is because people are just asleep at the wheel, man. And I'm not, even the people that are awake, quote unquote, they're still asleep at the wheel, because I was asleep at the wheel, because I had no idea just how fast this is being implemented. It's unbelievable, bro. And I think a good place to start off is this America2050.org.
Oh, this website.
I mean, this is just freaking ridiculous.
Why don't they just change it to North American Union 2050? Because that's pretty much what they're promoting with this.
Okay, yeah, so basically that's what it is. It's like the regurgitation of three things: Agenda 21, the North America Union, and the Rewilding Project. It's kind of all put into this one ball, and there it is, America2050.org. And I want to go over about this is from the About page. This is really troubling, folks. It says America 2050 is a national initiative to meet the infrastructure, economic development, and environmental challenges of the nation as we prepare to add about 130 million additional Americans by the year 2050. America 2050 is guided by the National Committee for America 2050, a coalition of regional planners, scholars, and policymakers to develop a framework for the nation's future growth that considers such trends as rapid population growth and demographic change, global climate change, the rise in foreign trade, which is globalism, sprawling and inefficient land use patterns, which is anybody that lives in rural America. That means you're sprawling. Your land is being used inefficiently. We must take it from you. You know?
Because the state knows how better to run your land than you.
That's right. They know how to grow vegetables and our food better, too. Popeye.
Raise your children.
Fact,
Wait, don't forget raising your children, Joe.
Yeah, Monsanto knows how to manipulate genes better than anybody, too. But, I mean, this is all the stuff that we're running into. They also say they also want to take care of uneven and inequitable growth within and between regions. They want all of these regions within the United States to be, well, the North American Union, to be equal. Meaning like, New York City and in and around there, you know how it's a lot of money, a lot of high dollars, a lot of rich people. Well, no, that's not good enough. We need to spread the wealth, get them out. And everybody gets the same everything, and same size urban hub, the whole nine. It's infrastructure systems that are reaching capacity. They want to expand that using like high-speed rail. And then the emergence of mega regions. This is one of the major sticking points out of this whole thing. They want to do away with the 50 states and institute mega regions. And that includes Mexico.
Big mega cities that they want to pack everybody into.
Yeah.
And that's what I was talking about when I said the UN's pushing this in New York. There's actually hotels being constructed now. Like, people, I shouldn't say constructed. They don't really do a lot of new construction. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times they buy stuff and renovate it. And that's what they're doing. Some of these hotels are renovating, is what I should say. And they're turning it into like, it's a hotel, but it kind of looks like a college dorm room. And like 3 people stay in one room together.
Yeah, it's like a college gag. How many people can you fit in a phone booth?
Well, it's the same thing. That's what they want to do. They want to make these sustainable cities. Remember, what the hell is that movie? The Fifth Element, I think it was, with Bruce Willis. And then that cute model, whatever the hell her name is, she's got the impossible name. It's impossible to pronounce. The apartments that they lived in were these little cube-like apartments. They were stacked up because the city was huge. It was, so populated. And they had this, the stacked up building, and they all lived in this little, box where they what was it, maybe 800-900 square feet, like a studio apartment. And that's what they owned. That was their little space. And that was it. And that's all you're going to be allowed to have.
That's just, that's wonderful. But what's even more troubling, Popeye, is the fact that what these mega regions are all about, and it says that's their major focus. America 2050 is the emergence of mega regions, large networks of metropolitan areas where most of the population growth by mid-century will take place. It's not, do they think it's going to take place there or should take place there? No, it says will take place there, meaning that they already have a plan that is what's going to happen, according to them. It says examples of mega regions are the Northeast region, mega region, from Boston to Washington, or Southern California from Los Angeles to Tijuana, Mexico. Oh, well, there goes the border. Hence, the North American Union, bringing in this one mega country, I guess you could say, or union, where we dissolve the borders between Canada and Mexico. Right, we're all one. So they compromise multiple adjacent metropolitan areas connected by overlapping commuting patterns, business travel, environmental landscapes and watersheds, linked economies, and social networks, and at least 10 mega regions have already been identified in the United States. This is sick. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you who funds this.
Oh, yeah, it's like a who's who of New World Order douchebags.
Oh, it makes
For
me
real.
sick.
We're going to break, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. More with Agenda 21 when we come back. And the Rewilding Project. All right, so, Joe, before we got cut off, we were talking about the donor list to America 2050. And like I said, it reads some of the names on there. A lot of people will know. They'll go, wow, it sounds like a New World Order douchebag. So go ahead, read the who's who list of people that fund this agenda, this anti-humanist agenda, I may add.
Anti-humanist. Are you ready for this? Anti-humanist?
Or Joe?
Yes.
What's your guidance or something? Bring something to mind like that.
America 2050 is supported by the following: the Rockefeller Foundation, the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation, the Surdna Foundation, the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy, the J.M. Kaplan Fund, AECOM, Park Foundation, the William Penn Foundation, STV Group, and my personal favorite, the Ford Foundation. Yes, all the endowments, the ones that you see when the Dodd investigation went down, Norman Dodd I'm talking about, and the investigation into the endowments in the 1950s, it's all those families. Oh, yeah. So, here we have the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, the conspiracy. Oh, everybody right now they should be running for the tinfoil. That's all I can say. Run for the tinfoil.
Right. You get called a tinfoil hatter, but it's the truth.
It's time to put on our tinfoil battle helmets and go to war, because this is crazy crap.
Well, you know what? Well, you know what? Just to prove a point, you've just inspired me to do something right here.
Do it.
Live on air. Just to prove a point, I will Google right now. Look, David Rockefeller quote. A quote from his memoirs. And let's see if I can find... Let's see what I can find. I guarantee there's a whole bunch of stuff already. Whew. Look, here we go. For more than a century, ideological extremists at either end of the political spectrum have seized upon a well-publicized incidents to attack the Rockefeller family for the inordinate influence they claim we wield over American political and economic institutions. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure.
Pretty much.
One world, if you will.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it. David Rockefeller, from his autobiography, his memoirs, back in 2006, right out of his own mouth. I'll read the last part again, just in case anybody that doesn't want to believe it didn't hear it. Some believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it. Need I say more? It's right in the scumbag's mouth.
Well, perhaps he'd be proud of hanging from the gallows. I would be proud to hang him from the gallows.
Traitorous piece of trash.
Really?
And these people, remember, the Rockefellers control the education system. You brought his name up.
Norman Dodd.
The Dowd Endowment.
It was the Reese Committee, yeah.
She talks about that connection. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's amazing how all this, you see how Joe and I are talking about all this, we're talking about Agenda 21, and you see how this connects into the educational system and the dumbing down of America and what Charlotte Iserby talked about?
It's all one plan. It's all to bring about the one world order. And that's what they're trying to do. But you can't bring about one world order having tunnel vision. You got to take care of all this stuff, and that's what they're doing. So, this is just this Agenda 21 is simply controlling what you eat, controlling the population, controlling the flow of travel, reducing the footprint of people, basically making these these ghettos, if you will, the old slums like in World War II in Poland, where they put the Jews. It's like that. That's what they're doing.
Exactly. They want to put everybody in this condensed little area.
Yeah.
And keep they're rewilding. This is what kills me. When you hear that, you're like, rewilding. That kind of, what is that? Rewilding. And you actually sit and think about what the term what it sounds like to you. Rewilding. Well, it sounds like letting Mother Nature come back in and take over what man has kind of created.
Yeah.
Like if you abandon a city and you find one of these ghost cities that nobody's in, in the future, and all these dystopian movies, or on that stupid, what is it, the History Channel has Life After Man, and you see the cities, there's no man, and everything's all filled with vines and stuff. That's rewilding. This is what they want to do. They want to give our cities back to the earth. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't coexist with the planet, because the planet is I do believe the planet is a living organism.
It sure is.
I mean, it's just, look at everything. We all work. We're all part of, like I've said this before, we're all like cells in a human body on this planet. We all should work together with it, and then things would be much better. Okay, and I agree with that, but I do not think that we need to start killing off all the human beings on this planet.
No.
And start clustering people inside these little megacities. And when I say killing off human beings, Joe, you know what I mean. They mean it.
Yeah, of course they do.
They want to depopulate the planet by at least 80%.
But
and if you've ever seen the video that Luke Rudowski has when he confronted Ted Turner, I've seen it, and he confronts Ted Turner with it, and Ted Turner turns around, looks him right in the camera, and says, "It's not 80%, it's 90%. Get it right." I mean, totally just stone-faced, not even blinking, and then turns around and walks away. Not chuckling. This guy is dead serious. And by the way, there's enough evidence to point to the fact that he might be the elusive R.C. Christian who donated the money to build the Georgia Guidestones, where it says the exact same thing in, 12 or 13 different languages?
Yeah, that's it.
Including Aramaic.
Yeah, but the whole purpose of this, of these mega regions and stuffing everybody in there, is so that A, they can control people, and B, they can surveil them all the time. Because if they're out in the country, it's kind of hard to pay attention to everybody like that. But if you get them in one centralized location, then you can control them. And then, of course, you have the fact that, you're probably going to have an uptick in disease and everything else. So you get your population control also. And, the sterilization, that stuff will be going and running rampant. I mean, you saw the Planned Parenthood documents there, what their plan was. I mean, this stuff is all happening at everywhere it can possibly happen.
Margaret Sanger.
Happening. Oh. Yeah, Margaret Sanger. Same thing, man. I'm still freaking appalled by what you freaking
I dumped that.
Killed me with.
I dumped that on Joe's lap. Like for those of you that don't know, when Joe and Tim covered for me, was it last Friday or the Friday before?
Yeah, something like that.
I dumped on their lap. I said, "Here, if you guys want a couple articles to talk about, check this out." And I dropped them an article that I posted on Federal Jack about Margaret Sanger, and it was her own quotes about certain types of individuals. And Joe and Tim were not prepared. It's not like they had read it beforehand, and gotten themselves prepared to read it on air. Sometimes some of the stuff we see, you need to prepare yourself mentally. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But you'll still hear me and Joe get all fired up and pissed off like we are right now. And I'm sure you've all heard me get angry before on air and, get into things, because this stuff you get passionate about when you see what's going on. And they didn't get a chance to go through that. So they went through that on air while they were reading it. And I actually didn't hear it because I was running around busy doing other things. So I went back and I listened to the archive, and I heard your reaction and Tim's reaction, Joe, and it was pretty much the same reaction I had when I first read it. And I read it out loud to my wife, and she couldn't even believe it. She was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "No, listen to this." I mean, she's like about one of them. It says it was black people and indignants, if I'm pronouncing the word properly. And it was pretty much that they were like rats and dogs, and they should be exterminated. I mean, can you say racist? And that wasn't the only thing she talked about. She talked about people that were handicapped, all sorts of stuff.
Right.
The things that you could get sterilized for back in the day, by the way, we've had sterilization laws in this country before. So when people are like,
oh, sure,
never do that in this country, I urge you to look about 100 years ago at some of the effed up laws that we had in this country.
Oh, man, dude. Bad stuff.
Dude, if you were a sexually promiscuous female, they could sterilize you. If you got hurt, I read the list on air one night. It was in a video, and I paused the video, and I read the checklist off. And it was just, I'm trying to remember everything that was on there. If you were born and you had, say, a disability, like you had a bad leg or something, sterilize you, you shouldn't have kids. If at some point you got disabled while working, you were an able-bodied man, and then you're in your early 20s, you get hurt, and then you want to have kids later in life, you shouldn't be allowed to because now you're disabled, and chances are that you might pass messed up genes onto your children. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we did in the past. These were laws on the books. The only reason why they stopped using the word eugenics and only recently have begun to use it is because the Nazi regime gave it a bad name.
Yeah, and because people with the name Eugene gets pissed.
Always the jokester, Mr. Joke. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hour number 1 flew right by. Joe and I will be back with hour number 2. Stay tuned. I promise we'll be getting into Agenda 21 and more when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on this Friday edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com.
Yes.
And I'm joined by my good buddy, Sean Connery. Who
yes, you are.
Piloting the Red October today.
This damn New World Order. They suck.
Actually, it's Captain Marco Ramius, isn't it?
What's up? Yes, sir. Marco Ramius in the house. Yes, sir.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Joseph does a mean Sean Connery impression. Especially with a couple of lines from the movie The Hunt for Red October. Yes, we try to be a little humorous sometimes. A lot of times I'm dead serious, and even Joe is dead serious. And today we're just trying to use a little levity once in a while to kind of break the mood, because some of this stuff Joe and I have been getting really pissed off lately. And
yeah, it's very easy to downward spiral into like nothing or
so you got to use humor to kind of pull you out a little bit, because it really, dude, when you see what's going on, come on. They're just blatantly stealing the elections, and you look at the American people, and you're like, ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention. And they're too busy watching friggin' Dancing with the Stars to be really worried about anything.
That's right.
You know, eventually, you're not going to be able to watch Dancing with the Stars because that'll be outlawed for some.
Oh no, I really don't think it ever will, dude. I seriously think that
that'll be the only thing that won't be outlawed. Dancing with the Stars.
It's kind of like, you remember the movie Demolition Man? With Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone, and how there was only one restaurant in wherever they were in that fictitious in the United States, and that was Taco Bell. I mean, and that's what it's going to be. Everything's Taco Bell. Oh, that's great. Well, everything's going to be like Dancing with the Stars. It's going to be that
and
it's of commercialized.
Any state too, because you couldn't swear in that future. Yep. They charged you a credit for every time you swear.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, think about it. It's kind of predictive programming.
Gentlemen, I have a trucker's mouth. You have to remember, I was a sailor. Joe was a sailor. You should hear the conversations off air. Okay? The F word is a verb, a noun, an adjective. It's a very multifunctional word. We don't use it on air because we're professional, and we are syndicated. So we you have to behave yourself somewhat when you're on air, and once in a while people slip, like Joe. Joe's got a foul mouth, and he slips once in a while. Even I do too.
No, who, me? Really? You have no idea, folks, how much of a challenge it is to get through 2 hours of radio without cussing, and I failed miserably tonight.
And I have to bust your balls because that's just my nature. But yes, look, I understand. The point is, I understand why you get fired up about it and why you're so angry. And that's why we try to use a little bit of humor and levity once in a while to interject it for a few minutes. It's kind of like, stretching before a good workout. Sometimes you got to get up and stretch the muscles a little bit. You don't want to just run right into it. That stuff's not good for you. We see a lot of evil and a lot of dark stuff doing this and bringing this kind of information forth to people. The conspiracy of silence thing, the whole Penn State thing, this pedophilia ring that
live in ignorance.
Believe me, sometimes I have days, and Joe and I have talked about this off air, where we wish we could live in ignorance about this. Not that I would go back to it, but sometimes you have that feeling like, man,
Yeah, I know, man.
Just for 5 minutes, it'd be nice to not know what we know. Because Cooper talked about this. It's the burden we have on our shoulders of knowing this knowledge that we know, and the things that we know, the evil we know exist, and that takes place. And it's so hard to get this across to people.
Well, you know why, dude? And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be straight up with everybody out there. It really comes down to, it doesn't matter what denomination or whatever, but there's certain universal and spiritual forces out there that if you tap into them, if you actually get connected, it makes it so much easier to see all this stuff. It really does, because you know that it's a battle of good versus evil. That's really what it is when you boil it all down.
It doesn't matter what God you worship or don't worship God. Leave aliens, put us here. It doesn't really matter.
It's good versus evil.
Exactly. It all comes down to bad intentions versus good intentions.
It's like, what was the name of the They Lie? It's the same thing, man. They lie, where people, some people could see what's on the billboard, and another, when he puts his shades on.
Oh, They Live with
that's it. Yeah, They Live.
Roddy Piper, when they would put the shades on, and they saw the money, said this is your God and everything.
Yeah, it's like you get shades, man. When you plug in spiritually, boop, there it is. Done. You see it.
That doesn't mean going to church or anything either.
No, that's all BS.
It means evolving.
That's right. It's evolving. Exactly. Your consciousness evolves into something, and then you tap in, and you can see these freaking imps.
I can't watch
demons for what they are.
If I watch cable television, I start freaking out. For real. I yell at the TV. My wife starts laughing because, we'll turn on Fox. My father will come over and visit, right? And he'll be flipping through the channels, and he'll stop on Fox News. And actually, to his credit, he is now officially, he's told me he's done with them because of them canceling Napolitano show. He was really pissed off about that. He didn't even know it happened. I said, they canceled Judge Napolitano. What? That's it. He was really pissed. I've put my faith in these people. Blah blah blah. F them. That's it. They canceled. Now he's like, I might as well just turn my TV off. And it's like, yay, I've got him there. He finally realizes it. And that's a big step, man. Like you and I talked about off air, the older generation, the baby boomer generation and stuff, it's hard for them to accept that this is the reality of things, because if they have to accept that, then they have to accept the fact that it happened on their watch and they didn't do anything to stop it. And I know a lot of people that have said to me, well, I'm too old. What can I do now? That's bullshit. You're never too old to fight these scumbags. Just remember that.
That's right.
Too old to fight these scumbags. Until you take your last breath, you can fight these pieces of crap. It's never too old to expose this stuff. You're never too old to tell your friends about the fact that what happened at Penn State with Sandusky was not a one-time thing, and that this goes much deeper. And it's very convenient that Joe Paterno died a month friggin' later of a fast-acting cancer. Where have I heard about fast-acting cancers before being used as a weapon? That's why it's imperative that you pay attention to this stuff, because this is the kind of thing that is going on around you. And honestly, it doesn't matter. It's not going to be the young people or the middle-aged people or the old people. It's going to be all of us together to stand up and take this country back.
That's right. Rich or poor, black or white, it doesn't matter who you are, what... It's I'm telling you, it's going to be humanity against these freaking demons. That's really what it boils down to. And you can either choose to accept that that's the fact, or you can just roll over and die. Now I happen to believe, I'm a firm believer in Christ and everything else. And one thing that he said, and it's a very, very, very important thing to do, because it applies to everybody, no matter what you feel. But it says, be either hot or cold, but don't be lukewarm, or I'll spew you out of my mouth. That's what he says. And that's it, man. Take a side and stand with it, Get up, stand up, freaking do something, but don't freaking sit on the fence.
Shit or get off the pot. Do something.
That's it. That's exactly, basically, that's what he said. Yeah.
It's pretty much. And look, I don't subscribe to any mainstream religion or anything.
No, me neither.
My own thoughts on who Jesus Christ are kind of controversial. In my eyes, he was the real person that they've based this rock star version of him off of was probably a truther. He was probably somebody like, just a regular average truth teller, somebody that was enlightened and understood things, and that couldn't fly. But at the same time, they realized his message was powerful, and they hijacked it. They did this. You want a comparison, and I'm not saying that Jesus Christ and what I'm about to say are the same thing, but a comparison to how they would hijack that kind of momentum. Look what they do with the Tea Party. Look what the Democrats tried to do. The fake left tried to do with the Occupy movement. It's the same thing. They try to hijack the momentum. So the church did the same crap. And it was for what? To control people. They were coming out of one paradigm and they were getting sucked right into another one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break. And when we come back, I promise, we will get more into Agenda 21. And I have this interesting dystopian video for you guys to hear the audio from. It's really twisted. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. And we're going to get into Agenda 21. I've been asked, people have said to me, what pushes you, what makes you guys so passionate? Because Joe and I are, as you can see, very wound up tonight about this.
Yes.
And that's why we're, like I said, first segment, we were blowing off a little steam the first segment. And what makes me so passionate about this? Do you have kids? No, I don't have kids. But what I do have are nieces and nephews. And
but it shouldn't matter. I mean,
but you know what? I have to look out for them because
you got to look out for everybody.
Well, of course I do, but you know what I mean. I look out. I care about everybody equally, but when people say, "Do you have like a family stake in it?" Yeah, I do. I have nieces and nephews that I don't ever want to leave an effed up future that I see coming to them. I don't want them to come to me and say, your generation should have done something. The baby boomer generation, I have to say, you guys, we kind of sounded like we were ranking on you a little hardcore the first segment. We weren't. I understand why you guys didn't do anything, because Rockefeller is again quoted as saying, thanks to the New York Times, Time Magazine, and there was one other publication he mentioned.
Yeah, a lot different then, man, without the internet,
Well, yeah, there was no internet. He said thanks to them, these people attended the Bilderberg meetings, and without them, blocking and not talking about, and pretty much just censoring information about these secret meetings and about this agenda for like 30, 35 years, they wouldn't have been able to get it through because the people would have been so pissed off and incensed about it that it never would have flown. But, now, people are a little different because they've been able to, over the course of 35, 40 years, they've been able to educate people differently, pretty much breed that right out of them. Right. Now the generations of people and kids, they look at things differently. You know how many times I hear people say to me, Joe, we're a global group now. Popeye, we have to think about the entire globe and everything.
Well, yeah. When I was getting my bachelor's, it was the same thing. Everything on the economic side was all global economics, everything like that. And the thing is as it stands right now, yeah, you're right. It is a global economy. That's the nature of the beast. It's been put in place over time, and unfortunately, it would be very difficult, almost catastrophic, to just say go cold turkey and not do that anymore. I mean, this country would really take a hit, as well as the rest of the world.
But there's certain things I think we could do that we...
But this is not sustainable.
Of course it's not sustainable. Well, dude, the budget, I think even the Pentagon admitted, it was Geithner. Timothy Geithner admitted the other day that Obama's 2013 budget is not sustainable. There's no way.
Of course, dude. I mean, you can't... $1 trillion in a hole... These people know they can't pay it back. I mean, really.
I want to know how you sleep at night knowing that, people ragged on... I'm going to say this and then we'll get back into Agenda 21. People ragged on Bush and said, he spent all this money, which he did. Okay, I'm not letting him off. Of course, they're all part of the same teams. Doesn't matter. But everybody rags on Bush, right? But Obama spent more in the swipe of one pen the first time he did his little bailout thing. He spent more with the swipe of one pen than Bush did. And Bush spent more than all the other presidents in history before him combined. So these guys are like one-upping themselves every year. I'm going to make $1 trillion. Let's just make a number up that we can just pull out of our ass. You have even a monkey, a blind, retarded monkey that plays with its own feces could understand that that's not sustainable economics. Okay, you don't have to be a friggin' math wizard or an economics wizard to be able to look at that and say, $1 trillion. We don't produce anything that even brings that much money in per year as a country, let alone from taxes. So how the hell are we supposed to cover that? Well, it'll just go on the tab. Dude, the tab's already pretty big.
Yeah, it's big tab. And the thing is if you take a look at Greece, you'll see exactly what happens when the banks
go ahead and this continues.
And gang rape you. Yeah, but see, the thing is, the difference between Greece and the United States is at least we're armed.
Yeah, we have guns. They and bottles. People here have guns, so it's going to be worse.
At least we're armed. So I mean, at least you can put up a fight. But it's all the same people. It's the Rockefellers. It's the Rothschilds. It's the banksters. It's all these people, this cabal, like you said, that are running the show and that are doing all this. And there's another organization. We went over America 2050. Now I'm going to go over Forum for the Future. And that's forumforthefuture.org. On the About Us page, it goes, I'm going to read one paragraph. I'm not even going to tell you, I'll give you a synopsis of what it is, and then I'm going to read a very important paragraph. It says, Forum for the Future is a nonprofit organization working globally with business and government to create a sustainable future. We have 15 years experience inspiring new thinking, building creative partnerships, and developing practical innovation to change our world. We aim to transform the critical systems that we all depend on, such as food, energy, and finance, and help them make and fit the challenges of the 21st century. And it's this paragraph here that really concerns me. It says, we will focus initially on 3 critical global systems that underpin our lives and the prospects for sustainability: energy, food, and finance. We believe that by understanding the dynamics of these systems, bringing together organizations playing key roles, and intervening at strategic tipping points, very, very interesting wording again, folks, intervening at strategic tipping points, we've got a much better chance of transforming them so they function in a new and more sustainable way. If we succeed, we won't simply help deliver a more sustainable future. We will also make our lives more secure, more enjoyable, and more prosperous here and now. And then, Popeye, I think that video would be a good thing to play now because this was made by Forum for the Future.
Oh, you mean the Plandopolis? You know what? We're gonna go to break in a few minutes. So what I'll do is I'll wait till we come back from the other side of the break, and we'll use the whole next segment because we'll have 2 segments left. The next segment, Joe and I will tear this video apart. It's like 3 or 4 minutes, but I'll fast forward to the part where I want to start. But it's
one thing I want to say is that it may seem, folks, that it's over the top. And in appearance, it's almost like satire.
It's going to seem like it's a parody. It's going to seem like something you'd see on like Adult Swim or what do you call that? Comedy Central, at later at night. Like it's going to seem like something maybe even Colbert or something might play. Trying to get a rise out of people and go to that extreme. It's that extreme with what they talk about, and it's an animated video. The title of it, you can look it up on YouTube, is called Megacities on the Move. And then there's 4 little options, 4 little different ones. One of them, the one I'm going to play is called The Plandopolis.
Right. And that's and this is one thing to understand is that these people are dead serious.
Oh yeah, this isn't a parody.
This isn't a parody. It's meant to look like it, I guess, but this is dead serious. This is what they envision. And this is what we have to fight.
They're not joking when they say this, Joe. They're like they actually had a meeting where their head of their organization, their CEO or whatever you want to call him, for lack of a better term, saw this video and went, yeah, this represents us. This is good.
And this is right from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, you guys will be, you'll see what I mean. You'll see. You're going to be like, what? So stay tuned. When we come back, the Plandopolis. New World Order crap. Big thanks to Jimmy X playing DJ behind the scenes.
Yeah, wow, man. He's really got you cheesed out.
Yeah. Jimmy's, I got to tell you something. He's got not, I don't want to say an interesting taste in music because he does, but that's not, he's got this like warehouse of music stored somewhere. I don't know where, but he's got just everything under the sun. You could be like, Jimmy, I'd like to, something like this. And dude, he'll have it. I don't know if he's got like some master computer somewhere.
Yeah, but he had to be masterly screwed up when he did this, man. I mean, like, probably had one too many beers at happy hour or something because he really, man, wow. I mean, this is some cheesy stuff.
It's all right. I like.
I know you do.
I like going all cheese sometimes, so it's all good.
I know you do.
Yeah, well, I am what I am, Joe.
You are what you are.
Yeah. So, all right, getting back to it, I want to play this clip now, ladies and gentlemen. By the way,
hey, Popeye, though, before you play that clip,
yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Captain Beast is on the line.
Commander.
No, I just want to say, no matter what music that I play, Joe Joseph always has a problem with it. And he's talking about cheesing out. Yet, did you ever hear the music during his show, dude? Holy mackerel!
Oh man, I know, stinky.
Actually, his music has gotten better, but yeah, dude, you did have some.
Oh, awful! Absolutely horrible.
No,
but I'll
dude.
be the first one to admit it.
Horrible, like
dude.
I would think deaf person was the guy that cut your bumper music.
Yeah, I know. I mean, seriously, come on, Joe. Don't make fun of the music that I play. You're talking about cheesing out, and then I listen to your show and it's like,
calling the kettle black.
I know the freaking Irish Rovers or whatever he has going on there.
Irish
Rovers.
Yeah. No, you know what? He asked me. Actually, Joe asked me to put in that tune, "The Unicorn," and I refused. So anyway. All right.
You got me, Jim.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, I'm going away now. Bye-bye, guys.
The Phantom of the Orion Talk Radio Network, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jimmy X. Yay, give Jimmy a golf clap. Okay, so I'm going to play this clip for you guys. Now, we have to get back to serious mode. I'm going to play the clip, but before I play the clip, I want to tell you, final segment, I'm going to play a clip from Fletcher Prouty, where he talks about where the origins of the term fossil fuel and this, scarcity of oil idea came from. Remember, oil is abiotic, ladies and gentlemen, meaning the earth replenishes it. You should look that up. But first, I want to play you this clip because remember, this is all based off the fact that we use too much oil and everything. And to segue right to the video, in the beginning...
Yeah, very resource-driven, right?
Yes, and in the beginning of the video, it even says that. It says, in a world of fossil fuels, first line, in a world of fossil fuels and expensive energy, the only solution is tightly planned and controlled urban transport. And listen to what she says. She talks about having a calorie card with a certain amount of calories you're allowed to burn because they're on food rations and rationing of water. It's really crazy. It's pretty creepy. Like in the beginning, it goes 2012 global climate deal imminent, and then as it goes through them, it's got a bunch of them, and it fast forwards, and it's like global food crisis and all this other stuff, and eventually the Global Food Council rations water around like 2037, and then that's when it comes into play when you hear her, and it's crazy because through or she comes in around 2040 sometime, and it's around the same timeline that America 2050, this completely separate website. So this again, they dovetail into each other, how they connect, and this isn't coincidence. I hate when people say that. It's not coincidence at all what's going on. This is 110% reality. So you're going to meet this chick in the video. Her name is V. All right, check it out. This is Plandopolis.
Oh, hi. I'm so glad you're on time. I'm V. I'm looking forward to showing you around Plandopolis today. My husband works from home. He's a virtual engineer working on one of the city's desalination plants. He controls the robots who do all the important maintenance. I think he basically plays computer games for a living. You ready to go? Have you got your calorie card open on your smartphone? I registered your visit with Slick Travel Corp the other day, so they've allotted you a journey time to match mine. It makes so much sense, doesn't it?
Auto drive mode. You have to have a government, a corporation. One corporation owns this whole massive transportation thing. They're all little buses, and they come pick you up, and they allot you a transportation time. And you heard her say her calorie card. Now listen what she says. Switch your brain off and go to work.
Switch off brain and go to work.
Switch off your brain, because who needs it? And now listen to the next line. And this is real. Again, this isn't a parody, ladies and gentlemen. This is real.
With this many people around, I'm glad there's a mega computer in charge.
What? You want to repeat that? With this many people around, I'm glad there's a mega computer in charge. And then there's Plandopolis High School.
I mean, did anybody not remember Hal? Hello?
Dude, all you got to do is watch any of the 4 Terminator movies.
Oh,
preferably
awful.
number 4 to see the kind of dystopian future that could happen if you allow Skynet to continue.
Or even Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, a lot of that falls into the predictive programming. That's another 2-hour episode by itself. Now they're at Plandopolis High School, Joe, and you've seen the video. This is where she talks about her kids getting an education, and then they have their careers picked for them.
Yes.
Right.
Our kids were allocated a school quite near my practice, so I can drop them off on the way. It saves on our calorie ration. Well, it won't be long until the little darlings get their career announcements. They've been working so hard, so I'm sure they'll get something good.
Career announcements. Nothing like having a say over what your career's going to be.
In carbon scrubbers for a living or anything. Are you hungry? Let's pop to the market as we're past. Right, what's on the menu this month? No, not meat. It's not your birthday.
You only get meat on your birthday.
That's right.
And this is the Global Food Council. It's not, like a ShopRite or a Food Town or whatever. It's the Global Food Council supermarket.
The Global Food Council are doing a really good job of keeping food production going. I mean, you don't get the choice you used to, but we're better off than most. I think it's probably easiest to walk from here. You barely see a car in the city centre nowadays, unless you're rich.
Unless you're rich. I mean, really.
Disgusting, isn't it?
It is absolutely freaking disgusting. Unless you're rich.
Oh, it gets worse.
We're all trying to meet our global carbon deal. Electric bikes are so much better for getting around our neighbourhood. And why waste valuable space on car parks when you can use them to grow food?
Rewilding. There's a picture of a parking garage, and it's got all the decks are empty, and now they're filled. Well, they're not empty. There's no cars in them, I should say. They're filled with plant life. And right. There's a sign. It says old car park farm with an arrow pointing to it. So, and this is part of this rewilding agenda, what we were talking about the first hour.
Right.
They're taking, civilization. They want to take stuff that's been urbanized, and they want to turn it back into nature. That's why, in Detroit, what they're doing, right? Part of this Agenda 21, what people don't know, in Detroit, a lot of these houses that are, they've been abandoned and stuff, they're going in and the state's purchasing them for like pennies on the dollar, or I should say the government, the banks are holding them, and they come in and they level the what do you call it? So in some cases it's the city, some cases it's the state. I've even seen cases where that people have claimed, and there's been evidence to point to the fact that even the federal government is involved in this through obviously the UN and Agenda 21, and obviously this is all connected. And I have to say it fast, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't have enough time to lay everything out. But I urge you to just check out Agenda 21. Check out the Rewilding Project. Check out what they're doing. Okay? Pay attention to what's up and what they're doing. You have to really research this stuff. Now, when we come back in the final segment, Joe and I I'm gonna play one more clip for you. I want you to hear Colonel L. Fletcher Prouty on where the term fossil fuels came from, because remember, this is all based off of we use too much oil. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the final segment. And really quick, where I was going with the whole Detroit thing is, I don't remember if it was the federal government or the state governments, but one of the government is buying up the houses in Detroit from the banks for pennies on the dollars, the ones that are abandoned and, foreclosed upon and just sitting there. And rather than sell them to somebody who could renovate them, which that is happening, but more often than not, it's going to the government, and they're buying up the land, and then they're demolishing the house and not letting anybody build on it. So, and they're giving it back to nature. Again, part of this rewilding project, turning urban areas back into the forest and the woods. And again, I have respect for this planet. I was taught how to hunt at an early age, and I was taught to have respect for every living thing on this planet. Even if I had to take a living thing's life, it was for food. It wasn't, we didn't do it for sport. We ate every part of it, and used as much. I was taught to use what as much as you can. But I was also taught to respect the planet. I was taught. I wouldn't piss into the river or anything like that.
Why not? That's all natural.
Well, you know what I mean. I find it abhorrent what BP is doing to the ocean and stuff. But at the same token, I don't think, again, we should wipe out humanity. And that's what this is. The real goal of this is. So I just wanted to quickly cover where I was going with the Detroit thing, because we got cut off by the break. Okay, now, last segment, as promised. Here's Fletcher Prouty talking to Leno Senek. Now, Colonel Prouty's been dead, as you guys know, since 2000. I think it was 2001, about 6 months before 9/11 happened. And he was the first chief of special operations in the country under John F. Kennedy is when he came into power, or when his position was created. He was in the military predating World War II, and I think he got in a little bit before World War II. He was a pilot during World War II. And Prouty, he worked with the CIA. He was the chief of special ops. He's a very intelligent man. Go to federaljack.com, look up Colonel Fletcher Prouty, the secret team. It's right on the side on the widget bar. It's a red widget. You'll see his the cover of his book, The Secret Team. Click on it and listen. There's 9 hours of audio. Go listen to him with Leno Senek. But here is him talking about the origins of fossil fuel. Now remember, all of this stuff is all based on, oh my God, fossil fuels. We use too many fossil fuels, which we are too dependent. There are other things like geothermal energy and stuff. But again, this myth that oil is finite, it's abiotic, and they know this. Okay, they go look up abiotic oil, go look up Agenda 21, look up the Rewilding Project, look all this up, educate yourself. Don't just take my word for it or Joe's word for it, and listen to what Colonel Prouty has to say.
Well, you mentioned in one of your last talks that petroleum wasn't what we thought it was, that it wasn't a fossil fuel, that it didn't come from fossil animals.
Yeah.
Is it just a mineral? Is it a mineral like any other mineral? Is that how it, what would you say? What's the origin of
You see, when they first found petroleum, because they were beginning to make motors and needed on axles of wheels on railroad trains and all that sort of thing, and remember, trains started in the beginning of the 19th century. Then oil went from just a lubricant to a fuel, and it made it valuable. And Rockefeller happened to be the smartest man in the business at the time, but he made most of his money, or much of it, off the transport of the petroleum as well as selling it. But one thing they realized was, because oil is putting a price on oil is like putting a price on a pail of water. No initial cost. It's in the ground, and in those days they were, some of it almost what you'd call surface mining the oil. They didn't go down deep. So in order to get the price up, they hit on the idea that they would have to make it appear to be scarce. After we take the next few barrels out, we're probably going to have to close as well, that kind of thing. But a very fortuitous event. In 1892, there was a convention in Geneva of scientists to determine what organic substances are. Well, the definition of organic is a substance with hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. And so it's usually a living substance, a tree. You analyze a dead tree, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, and grass, and so on, living things. Animals, we are hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. So at this Geneva Convention, Rockefeller took advantage of sending some scientists over who said, oil, petroleum, is hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. Therefore, it must be derived from the spoiling, the rotting of formerly living matter. And playing the game properly, when this scientific convention was over, they defined oil as the residue from formerly living matter. Well, that makes it a fossil fuel. I don't know why they decided to use the word fossil, but it says formerly living matter, it's fossil. Well, of course, today, and another thing we should know is that there has never been a fossil, a real fossil found below 16,000 feet. And you can't argue at 16,000 there's a level line because someplace the ground sinks and so on. But 16 is what the scientists say, 16,000. We mine oil, or we drill for oil at 30,000, 33,000, 28,000 every day of the week. So right there, we rule it out that it isn't fossil fuel. It's called fossil fuel for the minds of the public to feel that it is an asset that is running out, being depleted. We talk about depletion allowance, which is a lot of, and actually, if you know the world's oil supply, you know that it is not going to run out for an awfully long time. It is the second most prevalent liquid on Earth. And we haven't begun to dig. Well, with all that background, you see, the people in charge of the petroleum business, for perfectly reasonable business things, like any other man in the business, wants to keep his price as high as he can get away with. And the way to do is just say, well, there's no more. The last barrel is going to cost $1,000, and then it's all done. And they preach that stuff. What bothers me is that in geology books, it's in there. The geologists say it's a fossil fuel. They've been bought. I mean, I went to a 4-year federal staff energy seminar run by the government of the United States during the so-called energy crisis. I was the participant that represented the railroad industry. The airline industry was there. Every AA, administrative assistant of senators and congressmen, was there. The CIA was there, the Defense Department was there, the State Department was there. Sometimes sitting right in front of me in the row would be Henry Kissinger with his friend, the head of Department of Defense. That's too bad, I can't put the names with them. But anyway, people like that, top men in the government, sitting there listening to the Federal Staff Energy Seminar. Well, what this was doing is for 4 years, they were teaching a propaganda line to the leading people in this country, and therefore to the leading people in the world, when you include the Kissinger and Schlesinger, among others. And the object of it was, as Kissinger used in his own terms when it was time for him to speak, to create a world price for oil. In other words, not 30 cents a gallon here and 90 cents a gallon there, but let's get a world price. That's their goal, and they're trying to do that for wheat and everything else. We don't realize what the controls are, whether it's oil or some of these other things. Almost everything today is being categorized at the highest price they can possibly make it go. And so calling petroleum a fossil fuel...
Isn't that... Now, the clip, there's about another 2 or 3 minutes, but I don't want to run out of time and be going right up to the bumper music. So you guys can check it out. Just look up Origin of Oil.
Yeah.
On YouTube, or Fletcher Prouty on fossil fuel. And I would suggest you rip the clip with whatever video ripping software you have. But, I mean, there you go. Former chief of special operations. This is the man that actually penned the document where Kennedy said he was going to, what did he say, scatter the CIA or turn it to 1,000 pieces and break into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds, is what he said.
Yep.
And he really thought he had the power to do that as the president. He really thought that he was going to do that.
In a way he did, but you have to understand what you're up against when you do that. I mean, you're talking about some seriously corrupt, demonic people.
You heard who he just said he was sitting there with Kissinger.
I know.
And who did he say paid these scientists off and came up with the term fossil fuel? Rockefeller.
Rockefeller.
Mr. Competition is a Sin.
Rockefeller.
Whose son now looks like Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings. My precious. And he's the douchebag whose memoirs we were quoting earlier, Mr. David Rockefeller, whose son is Jay Rockefeller. Ugh.
Thanks, Popeye. I mean, now I'm sick.
I know. I made you sick because I said Rockefeller's name. Makes me want to vomit, too. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time for tonight. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you very much.
Hanging out with us. I hope Joe and I were able to bring you this information and a little bit of levity today, because it's been a rough week for us doing all this research. We will see you again Sunday. Check my show out, 5 to 7, Joe 7 to 9, and then Ken after us. Thank you again. We're out.